The hosts of Bracketology are experts in nothing. They claim no advanced knowledge or profound insights. Instead, they are just three judgmental idiots who really like to bloviate their own opinions whenever given the chance. Take what they have to say with a grain of salt, or not at all. You'll probably be better off that way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bracketology Reviews. That's right. Sounds like I couldn't have come up with a better name, so we've got to workshop that. But this cold open sounds like a regular open, except it's Bracketology Reviews. I am very excited about this. As I've mentioned in a previous episode, I had aspirations at one point in time of starting my own podcast that was like limited edition eats and reviewing new things in grocery stores and fast food products. And this week, we're kind of dipping our toes into that. How do you guys feel about this?
I mean, we're dipping our toes in to a very carbonated pool. And I don't know how excited I am about that.
I might be... my feelings towards this might be a little tainted because I had to drive so much to find this product to be able to do this today.
I'm still not convinced that you did. I'm convinced that you missed them at one of the first locations that you went to. Anyway, this week we are excited. We're somewhat excited. I'm very excited to try the new Oreo Coca-Cola and Oreo flavored Coca-Cola and Coca-Cola flavored Oreos. This is ridiculous.
I think it screams to me that a society can do things, but probably shouldn't. Yeah. It's like the Jurassic Park, thing.
Yeah. Life finds a way.
Well, yes, but in some instances, we should just not.
Yeah, I think this. I don't know if y'all remember going back to the most survivable apocalypse. This is human hubris.
All right, I think we should get started here. I think we go cookie, soda, and then cookie and soda.
Yeah, so before... Hold on, that's going to be difficult. Before we really get too into this, we do want to do a quick warning for any of our listeners with misophonia. If you have misophonia, and I'm editing this episode, I'm going to do my fucking damnedest to take out all of the creepy sounds. But I can't guarantee that I got them all. So just be pre-warned before we really get into this that may be an issue.
It might get uncomfortable. All right, I'm opening my Oreos for the first time.
So just, to start, right? Like it has been said by many people that you eat with your eyes first. Mm-hmm. And I do have to say that I love the two-tone Oreo, right?
I like the red, black, and white.
The white on the other. That's kind of cool.
There's also a lot of stuffing.
My high school colors were red, black, and white like this, and it makes me a bit nostalgic in that way. I've always loved this combination accordingly.
So we're going to do the cookie first.
Hold on, smell now.
It smells like...
It smells like an Oreo, but not as good.
I smell like an Oreo, but then I got the popping candy in the scent somehow, and it hurt.
You know what it smells like, though? It smells like a watered down soda that you left on your desk overnight, and now the next day it just
sounds so appetizing.
It does have a Coca-Cola scent.
There's a hint.
A little bit.
A little bit. All right.
I can't tell if it's the cookie or if it's the cream, but cheers.
Cheers.
Matt is dismayed.
I've eaten weird Oreos before. I've even eaten Oreos that have the popping candy in the cream.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear it in the back of my mouth.
Yeah.
However, the Coke flavor, it's still an Oreo, so that's nice. But the Coca-Cola flavor is stale almost.
It's not there,
but it's not very pronounced.
No. Is the popping coming through?
I'm not a fan of the popping. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
The auditory aspect of it, or in your mouth?
It's a little bit of both.
I actually don't mind it. I've never had a Coca-Cola that actually brought that much fizz that lasted that long in my mouth, but I get where they're going for. I don't know that they'd be my first choice, but I don't mind it.
Oh, I put the rest of the cookie in my mouth. And I'm just getting like small bites of the Coca-Cola flavor.
But it's like stale Coca-Cola.
It is, and I absolutely dislike it.
It's like stale Coca-Cola that somebody mixed stevia in.
I am a Pepsi person, right?
Mhm.
I'll drink.
You both are, right?
That's true. I will drink Diet Coke. I enjoy Diet Coke. I've never, ever liked regular Coca-Cola. It's just never been my go-to for soda in any way. And it kind of has like a generic cola flavor as opposed to it being truly Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
But I can't say that I enjoy it.
The soda flavor that's there reminds me of like an RC Cola that you pick up out of a truck stop that's been there way too long.
I was going to say Big K, like the Kroger brand, just cola. Yeah.
All right, should we move on to the soda?
Yes. Hold on.
So,
I brought a cup with ice, but it's melted a little bit. Let me get that.
Here is a little bit of background on me. Is that normally when I drink soda, so I've got my Diet Pepsi. This is not a paid promotion in any way.
No.
But when I drink soda, I don't generally put my sodas in the fridge.
So strange.
Yeah, that's
your food
that's
opinions still continue to
look.
baffle.
I put too many sodas in a fridge that then got stolen, and I said, "Fuck it, I'm not going to do that anymore." So I didn't put it in the fridge.
Are you worried about your refrigerator being stolen today?
Oh, I just got a little bit of like popping candy. It was just stuck in my mouth. I was like, "What's that?" However, I did put this Coca-Cola in the fridge for the last couple of days. Oreo flavored Coca-Cola. We ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
The cans are better for the environment. Also, this says...
Yeah, but I was able to buy a single bottle.
This says Besties Forever,
Yeah.
but on top of it, it says a limited time.
Besties for a limited time. All
Fizzy
right.
cookie flavored.
Cheers.
Not much of an
Cheers.
odor to it. Cheers. Oh no.
Oh.
It's the aftertaste.
No, that's
Yeah.
not good.
It came back. I was like, it doesn't taste that. And then I like stopped and breathed in, and it was just cookie. Ooh.
The first hit is actually not that bad. It's like Coke.
Ugh.
But the aftertaste, what hits you after, oh my God, my burps are going to be awful after this.
It's just so not good.
Do you remember? You remember scratch and sniff stickers, and the chocolate ones never smelled like chocolate. They had anything scratch and sniff brown was quote unquote chocolate, and it always had like this off smell to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This tastes like that smell.
I can see people really enjoying this. It's not for me.
No,
It's not
I don't know who would enjoy this.
No.
I mean, the thing is, like, they're not wrong. It does incorporate the Oreo cookie flavor to a degree, but only the cookie.
Yeah.
It does not have cream to it. It just tastes like the chocolate cookie, which, in and of itself, let's be honest, not the highlight of the Oreo.
No, it's the worst part of the Oreo. Like, honestly.
But
it is the device used to hold the stuffing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's why we only put double stuffed in this house.
All right, so I can't really dip this cookie into this bottle, but
Am
what
I the
I can
only one
do,
that came prepared for that? I'm the
what I can do is
that?
take a bite and then drink some soda.
If you want to put yourself through that torture, that's fine. As you may have heard auditorily, if Matt wasn't able to cut it out, did pour mine into a glass so I can dip a cookie in the Coke.
I will take a bite.
Tell you I'm going to regret this.
I will take a bite of cookie and then take a swig of the cola. Dan?
I am going to tip see how I created a hook. That is going into the can And
I was counting on Dan to say.
Shit.
I was counting on Dan to say, I will refrain from participating in this part. All right, Cookie has been fully drenched in Diet Coke Zero Oreo flavor.
Still not good.
I mean,
I feel like it helped the Coke
yeah,
and slightly hurt the cookie.
the cookie itself is not bad. I
No.
don't dislike the cookie.
I could do this.
I
cookie.
mean, my favorite one of my favorite candies of all time is bottle caps, and I only eat the brown ones, which are root
what
beer
is
and cola
wrong
flavored.
with you?
What? So it's got a
Dude.
little bit of that.
Are you like an alien?
You make being your friend difficult sometimes.
What was the food like on your home planet?
All right. So, a bracketeer's walking through the Walmarts. The first Walmart that they went to that day, the one and only Walmart they needed to go to because they had the Oreo cookies and they were able to find them easily. Should a bracketeer buy the Oreo cookies?
Only if they're getting a paid endorsement to do so.
Only if it's a gimmick for their podcast.
This is not the first, second, third, or 15th Oreo flavor that I would choose in a store. This is also not even in like the top 32 of soda flavors that I would go for.
Yeah.
So
Matt is still chowing down on his second cookie.
I mean, I couldn't not finish the cookie.
No, I'm with you. I've finished mine.
I mean, look, one thing that I do at work is I am a fan of team building in my regular day job. And one of the things that I started doing was essentially having my team try random foods and stuff. This is something I would bring to that type of event. Nothing else.
I think if you're really curious about it, that it's worth the purchase just for the novelty of it, because they're not bad. Like, you'll still probably eat most of them if you're anything like me. But it's not the flavor I would seek out for sure. As for the soda, going back around the horn, absolutely not. It is not worth even the novelty trying of it. It's not good. It's not good at all.
And if anybody is interested in 7 more mini cans of the soda to try out for yourself, let me know. I will gladly give it to you.
If you're in the Denver area and willing to drive,
I'll mail it.
Can't guarantee quality upon arrival.
But I'll mail it, but it requires a like and a subscribe.
I am a fan of sodas trying things, right? And going outside of the norm, and not just sodas, but like, normal food. Like, one of my favorite drinks that came out in the last few years was the mango Diet Coke from a few years ago. I really enjoyed that. And I'm glad that Coca-Cola does that. They've pushed the boundary on this one. I definitely cannot recommend the Oreo flavored Coca-Cola, but to each their own. All
right, there we go. First episode of Bracketology Reviews. Again, we got to workshop a better name for that in the books. We got to figure out another
name. Bracket Views.
We'll keep workshopping it.
Get in the comments with your ideas.
Yeah, let us know. And you might even win 7
there you go.
Open cans of Diet or Coke. Whatever.
Zero Oreo. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bracketology, the podcast that definitively decides all things tournament bracket style. I am the creepiest co-host, Scott.
I am the most scared co-host, Matt.
And he's the most scared because I'm the scariest, Dan.
This week we continue through round 1 of our Horror Icon Championship. we jump into, what are we jumping into? I can't see the category titles. Matt, what are we doing this week?
So we've got the second part of round one this week, where we are going to get into the southern part of the bracket.
That would be south.
Which would be slashers and creatures. So we're going to be discussing some slashers, all of your classic slasher icons: Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jigsaw, etc.
A lot of familiar names in that
category. A lot of familiar names. That one's really going to, I think, hit with the nostalgia for a lot of people. And then creatures on the other side, really talking about all of the miscellaneous horror icons like The Thing or The Blob or Bruce, right? So lots of different things that we got going on today. I'm not going to get as scared in this episode. Probably. Hopefully.
All right. Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see how scared you actually get.
We will see how scared I get. So, where do y'all want to start?
I kind of feel like the slashers is the stronger of the columns, so let's start with creatures.
I was saying, we started on the west last time. Let's start on the east this time.
All right. So, starting on the east, we've got creatures. So, just kind of throw out the matchups here. We have The Thing versus The Blob. It's the matchup. The matchup. Slender Man versus Predator. Bruce the Shark versus the Other Mother from Coraline. The Xenomorph versus the Creeper. So, you want to just start at the top and work our way through?
Sounds
I think
good
that
to
makes
me.
sense.
All right. The Thing versus the Blob. Number one seeded The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing versus the Blob. What do y'all think?
I mean, I definitely am more familiar with The Thing than I am the Blob. I don't know if that is recency bias because of when the Blob came out, or if it's a true gauge of popularity. But I think if you were to hold a survey, The Thing would be the more popular of the two, or more well-known, I should say.
I think we're going to enter a bit of a cliche. What is the word I'm looking here? A bit of a trend. I'm going to enter a bit of a trend here as we go through this bracket. I have not seen either of these.
I mean, that's fair. I think both of these are classic horror movies. Again, John Carpenter's The Thing, I think, is one of the more famous of like those types of 80s horror movies, just generally speaking. And very, what's the right word for it? An amorphous fear, whereas
for sure.
the Blob is just amorphous.
Yeah, I can't explain it. I'd liken myself to be one that's very good at trivia because I pick up a lot through cultural osmosis and that's my relationship to both of these. I know what The Thing is about. Like, I know the setting, I know the general idea of it. I couldn't tell you the order in which people die or anything because I don't know to that degree. And same thing with the Blob. Like, I know the concept of it. I think you're right that just from that very high level knowledge and understanding of what these two things are. I mean, maybe this is showing my hand with my vote early, but I think The Thing is definitely the more of a terrifying concept. And we've talked about this before when we did the cryptids. The idea of a shape-shifting thing is terrifying. And The Thing, I mean, it falls into that category. It could be any one of you, anyone that's standing in that room could be masquerading and be the Thing. The Blob, though, I mean, it is more of like that's old school, that's really classic early horror.
Yeah, 1958 is when that movie originally came out.
It's one of those like foundational horror movies. It's one of those things like that inspired, Hitchcock and many on down the line. There's a domino effect from the existence of the Blob that I think deserves some flowers.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. And it's so the original movie, 1958, had Steve McQueen in it. It is, I think many people consider it a classic because it was kind of the start of an unknown entity really like taking over. I mean, it was an alien invasion, and then it was just consume everything in its path, right? Whereas The Thing is, again, kind of an amorphous fear in the dark, right? Shapeshifter could be anything, makes all kinds of noises, and gets people when they're sleeping. I agree with you. I think the Thing is more recognizable. I also think that it is very much an inspiration for many of the other icons that we have on this bracket.
Yeah, I would say the Thing is inspired modern, but the Blob inspired the people who made the Thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like,
but I think if you looked at popularity being one aspect of an icon that we've talked about, I think the Thing has that. But the other aspect of this whole debate is horror, and to me, the Thing is a much more personalized fear. Mm-hmm. Like, it is you and a group of people, your friends are disappearing. You have no idea the cause, and that person or the cause could be sitting right beside you, and you never know. That, to me, is personally scary, whereas the Blob, even though it's an alien, that's impacting everybody. You at least know where that threat is. Mm-hmm. And what direction you need to go to get away from it. That, to me, makes the Thing a little bit more scary.
What the fuck is that you just put on the screen?
That is the Thing.
Yeah, that's the Thing.
Like when it's not shapeshifted into...
Mm-hmm. This is like it mid kind of shapeshift creepy. This is one of its forms, essentially. Like, it doesn't have its own... Either way, the Thing is creepy. I think that... To me, I think we can get to the vote for this one.
Yeah.
The Thing?
The Thing.
The Thing.
Yeah. The Thing moves on.
Hey, we did a thing.
We did a thing, and it was with the Thing. Again, no disrespect to the Blob. Definitely iconic and made this list for multiple reasons, but...
Horror has advanced in those 50 years. Yeah. 70 years. Oh, God. We're old.
What do we got next?
Up next, we have The Slenderman versus Predator.
I have not seen either of these.
Hold on. You can't.
I'm just jumping in early with it.
It's not a last name, Dan. It's
Slenderman.
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 Yeah.
So, okay, I've never seen the Slenderman movie, but you know what the Slenderman is.
It's weird because he says Slenderman, but then he says Spider-Man, and I can't just figure it out. Yes, I know what both of these things are. I do have the internet, so I'm familiar with Slenderman. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've never watched a single Predator movie. I know what the Predator is, but I've just never.
You never even saw like Alien versus Predator?
Nope.
Huh. So I think it was Alien versus Predator, or one of the Predator movies actually takes place in Gunnison, Colorado, which is where Western University is located. I had a friend go there. So Slenderman, for the uninitiated, is a computer urban legend that has turned into a much larger thing than just that. I think that Slenderman is kind of unique on this list for that reason, because it's very, very modern, and it was
its origins are like 2012 internet.
Yeah, it was conceived on the internet, which is just wild, and has gone as far as to inspire creepy girls to murder their best friend in the woods.
Yes, I was off by a few years. 2009, when it originated in June 2009 when Eric Knudsen, Knudsen, using the pseudonym Victor Surge, posted 2 photos into the Something Awful subreddit forum as part of a Photoshop contest. And they named it, and then it turned into a whole backstory and origin story, and then a box office movie.
I was going to say, I hope he got paid from that movie.
I'm sure he had to have.
But he's going up against Predator, and the Predator is one of the coolest monsters from movies in the last century. Like, let's be real. Like, the Predator is dope as shit.
I mean, every aspect of the visual look of the Predator is amazing, right? The mask, even without the mask, with the teeth,
man,
how
the
scary
sideways
it looks.
mouth, like the pincers that it has, like
not to mention the fact that they are super big, very strong, have the ability to turn invisible, have the cannon and all kinds of
infrared
weaponry,
sight, and
but
it's
somehow can't see you if you're covered in mud.
it's correct. But they also think that
It lowers your temperature. Duh.
they also think that what is it? Autism is the next form of human evolution. In the most recent like Predator movie, not Prey, but the one before it, that was like the whole story. They were coming to take a child who had autism so that they could help us evolve.
Was that the one with the suit and the human starts wearing the suit?
I think so, but then the like super predator comes, who's just like a foot taller than the other predators.
Yeah.
Now, what I do have to say though, like I like the Predator, but is it outside of the first couple movies? Is it horror enough? It's iconic.
Even after like the first one was like, really dipped into the scary. But after that, you have Donald Glover in Predator 2, and he brings, maybe not purposefully, but there is a comedic, part of that movie that kind of takes it out of the horror.
Yeah, but don't a lot of series travel down that path? Like, I mean, Chucky certainly did.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure. However,
I don't know if a lot. Maybe there's one example. I don't know.
But I think that like the main argument excuse me, is that if we take the Predator through all of its experience into Alien verse Predator's the good guy. Like he's no longer a horror thing at that point. Like he is fighting against the alien. I don't know. I just don't know how much horror he actually maintains.
It's more of an enemy of my enemy kind of thing in that movie, but I think the horror aspect is still there. And let me ask you this. If you were walking Ollie one night and you heard the distinct clicking coming from a direction that the Predator makes, would you pee your pants?
I don't know that I would pee my pants, but I'd absolutely be freaked out.
He'd be running too fast for the pee to actually make contact with his pants. It'd be behind him.
But I'll be honest with you, like truly, because here's the way that I look at it, is that if the Predator was coming after me, if I was his prey, I have no chance, right? I'm going to die just dead.
Is that hold true for Slenderman too?
But for the Slender Man, the fact that y'all keep saying Slenderman is really going to... For the Slender Man, I don't know what the fuck he's going to do to me. And that it's creepy as hell. I'm gonna throw out my vote, and I'll let y'all kind of battle.
Just for reference, because I did fall down a rabbit hole. The guy who created it, his name's Eric, whatever his last name is. Sure. He goes by his online pseudonym Victor Surge and was credited and was a writer, like the primary writer of the movie. So yeah, he's made some money off of it.
Nice. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw my vote out. I think that Slender Man is more of a horror icon than the Predator. As much as I love the Predator, I'm going to go Slender Man.
Are you putting Predator into like a action thriller bucket then? Is that what you're saying?
A little bit. I mean, I think that it kind of moved further in that direction than horror, especially in the last, 20 years or so.
Okay. Dan, what do you think?
I mean, it pains me to say this, but I do think the Predator is more iconic than Slenderman, but I can't say that he is the same iconic status in the horror realm. I think Predator, even at that first movie, was still an action blockbuster, big explosion kind of movie. He just was a very scary bad guy, whereas Slenderman is 100% horror. So I gotta vote Slenderman.
All right. Well, that makes my vote irrelevant, but also Slender Man.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that
I thought
moves.
we were just going to keep doing that.
That moves the Slender
I will
Man
from now on.
forward to take on the Thing in the next round, and moves us to our next matchup. What do we got next?
Bruce the Shark versus the other mother from Coraline.
All right,
For those
so
uninitiated.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bruce the shark is the shark from Jaws.
So in the movie, his name is not Bruce, but the actual like animatronic shark that they made, they named Bruce. But Bruce the Shark, Jaws versus the other mother, these are wildly different icons.
Yeah. I mean, both. Well, I don't know. Yeah, they are widely different. Where do we want to start? I don't even know where to start with this one.
I mean, I think with Bruce, right? If you just look at the shark, like the movie Jaws terrified people. Like it had people absolutely horrified to go into the ocean. And I think that it has caused much to the dismay of sharks everywhere. It has caused many a phobia because sharks get a bad rap. And I think that's mainly perpetuated by Jaws.
I think it's a big reason why anytime there's a shark attack, it makes news.
Yeah.
Still today. And it's like, that happens so, you know, I'm not saying it's an unusual or completely infrequent thing, but it gets sensationalized a lot.
And I think for me, like, I'm having to kind of separate Bruce, that specific shark, to the actual possibility of a shark attack, because sharks are fucking scary. There is a real chance that, you know, I like to scuba dive when I'm on vacation in different locations. Although the chances aren't high that I would ever run into a shark, they aren't zero either. So that is scary. Bruce, that specific shark, was terrifying in that movie. You were talking about people being afraid to go in the water. Before I was born, my dad and my mom were at the beach, and my dad stepped on a jellyfish and sliced his foot open and screamed shark because Jaws had just came out. Freaked everybody out. It definitely had that scare factor. The other mother feels very specific to that person, right? Coraline. It is a scary like shapeshifter because it takes the form of your family, but I don't know what my chances of running into that are.
I mean, I think, hold on. We just got done talking about the Slender Man and the Predator. And now you want to bring up the real life chances?
Look, I'm just saying, for one, there is a very real possibility that could happen. The other one, no.
As an animal lover, I am surprised that you kind of go so heavy in the idea of a shark attack, because the truth of the matter is that sharks don't attack people that frequently. Like, they just don't.
Yeah.
I think the idea in the movie, Bruce, is it's scary. It's a shark with a vendetta. Like, sharks in and of themselves are prehistoric creatures, right? Like, they've been around for millions of years. But to me, Coraline's other mother, so she is a fucking creepy, button-eyed version of her mom, and like animates other parts of her family, and like that's weird, and that's a dream that I would have that would truly keep me up. I don't know. Tim Burton's mind is a scary place.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think, like, again, this kind of trickles into that shapeshifter conversation a little bit with the whole other mother thing, right? There is definitely, it's not as clean because there's the button eyes, right? There's the giveaways, but it still is taking advantage of the fact that it can look like Coraline's mother in order to manipulate Coraline. And then, if I recall correctly, it's been a while since I've seen this movie. Isn't there some question at the end as to whether or not Coraline actually gets out into the real world? I think I remember seeing something about like the way the handwriting is on the birthday cake at the end of the movie suggests that she might still be in the alternative reality. So I don't know. That's again pretty creepy. But the shark thing, again, I feel like it's it's very classic and it's very iconic, and the dun 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 dun, like everyone knows that and still references it to this day. People probably reference it to this day, not even realizing it comes from Jaws. But I don't know. I feel like shark attacks in general, again, is something that gets sensationalized. It's you know, there's you don't talk you talk about the one shark attack, but you don't talk about the other 16 million people that were in the ocean that day who didn't have a single negative experience. And it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I think in terms of like scary things in the ocean, sharks are not at the top of my list. Like the ocean itself fucking drowning you, or octopus, or the kraken, or whatever else there is in the deep blue sea that none of us will ever see, scares me more than a shark. The other mother, yeah, it's one of those things, man. Being able to like draw you to a different reality and potentially keep you there. And I'll throw my vote, although I think that the music from Jaws is in and of itself iconic, and it is because of the shark. I'm going to throw my vote to the other mother because it scares me personally.
Yeah, I think too, if you talk about Bruce the Shark specifically, you talk about that animatronic. Um, I understand it's been quite a few years since that movie came out, but it hasn't aged well, right? I mean, animatronic technology is better. Now we would just do it all with CGI, and I guess kudos to them for using practical effects, but we can make it look a lot better these days, you know? Yeah, I think, I don't know.
Dan, what do you think?
I think the other mother might be a little bit scarier to think about, right? But again, we're talking about a horror icon, and I'm leaning into the icon here because I don't think the horror aspect is high on either of these accounts. So I'm leaning into the icon, and Jaws is the bigger of the two icons, and I don't think it's even that close. The visual of Jaws like coming up the water, and there's a person swimming at the top. That's iconic, right? You see that on shirts. Sometimes it's a cat. The music, that still has an impact 3 decades or more since the movie's release. My vote's for Bruce the Shark.
I had a buddy who had a phobia of sharks, and he used to say that the idea of a shark was like the idea of trying to fight a bear while also drowning at the same time. I was like, that's pretty an intense visualization, but I get it. But again, I feel like Bruce the Shark in particular is a little dated, doesn't quite age well. The other mother is just, it's just plain creepier to me. Again, especially that shape-shifting aspect and the potential to manipulate someone with that. I think my vote's going to go other mother as well.
All right. So not nearly as much contention as we've had in the past when somebody loses a vote.
No, not as invested in this one.
Yeah.
But that takes us into our last matchup in the creatures category. The xenomorph, the alien from Alien, versus the creeper, which is the bad guy in Jeepers Creepers. Now, I'm going to start this out by just throwing this out there. My family is from a small town in Nebraska where most of the surrounding area is fields or corn, and that's
Okay.
about it. And the first time that I watched Jeepers Creepers, I was at my uncle's house in Nebraska, and I'm getting the shivers already. Just the image of the main like protagonists, I guess you'll call them, driving down the road and seeing somebody drop a body into something in a field and then like stopping and like having to That's fucking scary, dude. Like that truly scarred me for life.
But on the other side, you have the Xenomorph, which, I mean, those first, 3 movies were amazing. The first one really dipping into that, horror aspect. I mean, think about the mouth opening and the other little mouth coming out and the drool coming down. The fact that they bleed acid. So even if you do manage to hurt one, it's still going to say fuck you. Like, Xenomorph is terrifying. They are perfect predators. They can be silent when they need to. They can crawl up the fucking wall. They can hide way better than you would think. And then they, stab you with their tail or bite your fucking face,
I don't want to think about any of that.
Does the Xenomorph movie franchise fall victim to some of the same things that the Predator does, though?
So I'm going to throw myself a little bit under the bus on this one, which is that I just watched the first Alien movie a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had never seen it before, mainly because I'm a wimp and I don't like being scared. The first one was more of almost like a psychological thriller more than it was an actual horror movie.
Yeah.
The second one, from my understanding, is much more in the horror realm. And then I did watch Prometheus. I have seen Prometheus, and that one is probably a little bit closer to the action-esque world.
Mm-hmm.
However, the newest Alien movie that just came out recently, what is it, Romulus?
Yeah. It's like a return to
It's
horror.
a return to the original vibe of everything, and much more like horror, jump scares, and again, psychological. Hey, you're in the dark and you hear noises and you don't really know what's going on. I haven't watched it, nor am I ever going to, but that is creepy.
Not interested.
And in the first one, they have these motion detectors, right? And they make a very distinctive beep. And the pressure that movie builds as they are walking around and those beeps are getting closer, like, it gets you. And they also turn that into a horror video game where you're literally on a ship hiding from an alien, and it's terrifying.
I mean, honestly, my heart rate is increasing just kind of thinking about it.
You look so stressed out.
You do. You really
the
do.
first 6 things in this list I was okay with. Now my palms are starting to sweat and I don't know how I feel.
So with that being said, what about the Creeper?
The Creeper, man, so I put it into the creatures category when we built this bracket because I don't know what it is. Like, all I know is that it kills people, it takes their bodies into like a lair and then skins them, I think. Like, I don't...
He's a demonic creature that feeds on human beings for 23 days every 23rd spring. I don't know why the numbers mean anything.
The
but
number
it basically
23 is creepy.
Sure, but it comes around every 23 years and kills some people near a cornfield. Like, it's the summation of it. I was never a fan of the Jeepers Creepers movies. Granted, I did only see the first and second one. I never saw the third one, and I don't know if they've come out with any more after that.
I just Googled him.
Fun fact, I've never seen either of these.
You have to see Alien, dude. If Alien and Aliens 1 and 2.
I haven't seen Jeepers Creepers either.
Oh my god, guys. All right, hold on.
His face, yeah, I'm looking at which one. Yeah, the weird jowl things again. The eye roll's interesting.
This thing fucking freaks me out, guys.
He looks like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers villain, turned up to 11.
I gotta delete what I just sent in our Discord because it's creeping me out.
So but here's the question then, is that creepier? As the most scared co-host, which one's creepier, that or Alien?
I mean, I think this kind of goes back. I think this kind of goes back to my kind of what I said earlier, right? Is if I met the xenomorph, I know that I'm dead. If I met the creeper, I would pee myself and then I would die. But the difference I think here is that the xenomorph would stalk me, which would I think I got to go with the xenomorph. As creepy as I think the creeper is, I think the xenomorph is scarier and more iconic. I think that's just the way it is. Also, I never really want to see the creeper again.
I have to agree. I think when it comes down to the horror aspect, like you only have to worry about the creeper on the 23rd spring, right? And for only 23 days. Xenomorph you only have to worry about when you go into space, but there are a lot more of them. And I think they're more iconic. It's got to be the Xenomorph for me.
All right. But my vote's irrelevant again. I probably agree, though. I think if nothing else, it holds the icon title enough to put it over top of the Creeper.
Yeah,
I think Jeepers Creepers had like probably one good movie and then 2 sequels that were profitable enough. You know?
Yeah, I think truly just everything around the xenomorph, from its eggs to its slime to its acid to its second mouth, like is just it's horror on top of creepiness.
Plus, did you see where people were taking the AMC Theaters popcorn bucket of the Xenomorph head and sticking it in the mouth of the Wolverine one?
Yeah.
That was pretty good. So bonus points there for Xenomorph.
Yeah, not where I thought you were going to go with that, but I did see that.
It's not where the Xenomorph thought its head was going to go either.
Hey.
All right. We're moving over.
Yeah, what is that? That gets us to our last first round bracket, which is slashers. We've got Michael Myers versus Norman Bates, Jigsaw versus Freddy Krueger, Ghostface versus Leatherface, The Face Off, and Jason versus Hannibal Lecter.
I think we got to call it the Face Off.
I think you're right. The Face Off.
Yeah. All right. Mike Myers versus Norman Bates.
Okay. Michael Myers. Creepy. Man, there's so much that goes into Michael Myers' whole aesthetic.
Yeah, he's got 72 movies.
He 100% does, and they keep working.
Mm-hmm.
The song alone, if we go back to
every third Michael Myers movie works.
I don't know, man. Best one was H2O. Here's the thing. I've seen probably one Halloween movie because it's not my favorite of the slasher flicks, and I think it's because Michael Myers is very much just appear in front of people kind of villain, and that's scary.
I think I've also maybe seen one Halloween movie, and it definitely wasn't the first one. It was much more modern.
Yeah, I think I've seen the first one. Like, I truly do, because Jamie Lee Curtis, I believe we've brought her up before on the podcast. Absolutely gorgeous, just drop dead gorgeous in that movie, and throughout her career, still to this day.
Keeping it regular with her yogurts too, good for her.
Gotta. Mm-hmm. You've got the William Shatner mask turned inside out. Like, there's a ton of lore behind Michael Myers as well, and like the fact that he was
Didn't they want to use Richard or Nixon's like a Nixon mask initially?
I think so.
And they were told that they couldn't?
Mm-mm. No. You're thinking of...
Or are you thinking of Dead Presidents? Like the Point Break?
I don't know.
But
it is a William Shatner mask turned inside out. That I do know.
I believe that was on accident, though. Like, I think it was supposed to be something else, and they were like, oh, we couldn't find it, and then they just got that. Either way, he's creepy.
Yeah. Now, he is going up against Norman Bates, who there have been a couple of different iterations of his movies. There was a show based on Norman Bates.
Oh, pretty successful TV show. Like, Bates Motel was
pretty good. super terrifying. You know, you've got the whole motel, house on the hill behind it, the mom that's not really there. Like, and it again, in terms of iconic, that shrieking sound when she's getting stabbed in the shower, that is a sound that has transcended the decade since it was created.
Yeah.
Again, it's another one of those ones, kind of like The Blob. Like it was a foundational movie for the entire horror genre, I feel like. Also, fun fact about Mike Myers masks. In the movie Baby Driver, they originally wanted to use the Mike Myers mask for the bank robbery scene in that, but they couldn't get the rights to it. So instead, they used Mike Myers masks. And they all had masks of him as like Austin Powers, and like they so they yeah so they got Mike Myers masks. I don't know. Again, I think it's tough because to one hand you want to take in that word again, iconic aspect of it, right, and the weight that the characters hold in that regard. I feel like Psycho as a film was definitely influential and carried weight, but I don't know that necessarily Norman Bates becomes iconic out of that. You know, the girl that's the victim in the shower scene is certainly iconic, but I don't know necessarily that the character is as much as Mike Myers is.
I mean, this is a Hitchcock movie, right? Psycho?
Yes. Psycho.
Yeah. And yeah, so I mean, we've got to give credit there because Hitchcock was kind of the progenitor of what has become slashers and thrillers and horror movies in a lot of ways. And I think that Norman Bates is so much more than just a serial killer, right? Like it kind of brought up the idea that somebody can be completely perfectly normal, but there's something right. Yeah. But there's something so wrong with their mind, in their brain, that they can be a completely different person when the lights are turned off or when they're at home dressing up as their mom or whatever it happens to be. Like I do think that is iconic in and of itself. However, there's a reason that Michael Myers is synonymous with Halloween, and it's not just the name of his movies. It is that if Halloween wouldn't have been successful, there'd have been 73 other Halloween movies with that title, but because of how good it was, I think that Michael Myers is just way too iconic.
Yeah.
So my vote, Michael Myers.
I agree.
Yeah, agree. Michael Myers is better.
Yeah. All right. Michael Myers moves on, and that gets us into what I'm looking at personally as what may be the main event of this particular bracket: Jigsaw from Saw versus Freddy Krueger. Two supremely iconic figures. Disagree?
That's interesting. Yeah.
What part?
Pretty much everything you said. I don't think it's the main event of this portion of the bracket.
Yeah, I kind of didn't agree with that either. But
well, fuck you guys then. Like,
I mean, and I mean, Jigsaw. I maybe it's just the again, maybe a recency aspect of it. Like I get we're talking about Freddy, we've talked about Mike Myers, eventually we're going to talk about some other characters where this applies. There's been a lot of movies with Freddy in them. I get that. But there's been a lot of movies with Jigsaw in it too. And one of those franchises has, I feel like, maintained a consistent level of quality, a more consistent level of quality. Whereas one of them, maybe let's say the Saw franchise, took some drastic dips in their movies.
Sure. I mean, I think that overall, if you look at the Saw franchise, they were coming out, every other Halloween for like 12 years, or every other October. Like, but if you look back at at the horror icon himself, right? At Jigsaw, which I am equating to the old man with brain cancer and
The OG dude.
the
Okay.
creepy puppet. Those are
Okay.
synonymous in my eyes. With the little tricycle that it rides around and the
There's been other iterations of Jigsaw though.
well, there have, but they
had
were inspired by that, like
His
that origin,
disciples or whatever. Yeah.
right? I mean, did they have a dip when Donnie Wahlberg became part of his disciples? Probably.
Well, wasn't Chris Rock in one of the movies too?
Oh, I don't remember that.
I think he was in a Saw movie.
Did y'all see the part where like the old actor tried to like play a younger version of himself and they just do a backwards baseball cap on
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, it was really bad. Yeah,
So
Spiral.
bad.
2021 film Spiral is a standalone sequel to Jigsaw and the 9th installment of the Saw film series. It stars Chris Rock, among other people.
I don't know, man. If you think back to the first Saw movie, like I distinctly remember going and watching the first Saw movie. My buddy and I were supposed to be at football practice, and we ditched to go watch the Saw movie at an AMC theaters. And we got done, and it was still light out. Thank God, because I was absolutely like, I can do the gore. The gore's fine, right? Blood everywhere. Like you have to dig into your own stomach to find a key, or you have to cut your leg off or whatever. But it was the jump things. It was the pig mask in the back seat. It was the the things that jumped out that still get me. And I when you hear the like Jigsaw's voice asking if you want to play a game, like that's scary, and that's iconic.
But Freddy Krueger haunting your dreams, isn't?
Yeah, like
Screaming bitch at you.
doing whatever he wants to. Like it is, Freddy Krueger is absolutely terrifying. Knowing if you knew that the only way that Freddy Krueger could kill you was when you slept, how long do you think you would keep yourself awake, right? And then what delusions and delirium would come from that? Like Freddy Krueger is absolutely terrifying.
Sure, and I think that his backstory is equally as fucking terrifying, right? Like being a pedophile who was burned alive, and now haunts people's dreams, and But again, it does get to the corn aspect of it, right? Being a little corny with the witty one-liners, right? You eat one of those Oreos and your stomach explodes, and he goes, "Now that's Pop Rocks, bitch." Like that's it,
I mean, I think that's just a highlight of 80s movies right there.
Yeah.
And makes them more iconic. I don't know. I feel like Jigsaw, if they had stopped at Saw 3, then like maybe he could have, but he got tarnished with most everything that came after that. And, I guess an influential old man who's able to start a cult of serial killers is kind of scary, but not quite as scary as a pedophile burned alive demon that can haunt my nightmares and get me whenever he wants to, and can get whoever he wants to whenever he wants. Like,
Yeah.
his power is greater. And again, when you talk about an icon thing, like, yeah, you do see merchandise of the doll that represents Saw, and you see that face on stuff, but I don't know. I feel like Freddy and the sweater and the claws and all that is there.
The hat, the face.
Yeah, there's more iconic to Freddy. I feel like he's got a bit more respect on his name.
And plus, even in the Jigsaw movies that I've seen, Jigsaw doesn't actually do anything other than capture people and put them in really shitty situations.
Yeah,
like,
nothing really major.
That dude cuts his own leg off. Like, he didn't do that.
Yeah, he also didn't have to necessarily, right? Like he gives the choice, and it's the illusion of choice to his victims of how bad are you willing to be as a person to survive this thing, right? And it puts this psychological twist on like what is the slasher, I don't know, theme instead of just me killing you, I'm going to make you kill yourself, or I'm going to make you do something even worse and live to regret it. Like I don't know.
I see where you're coming from, and there's definitely a higher level of trauma that would be associated with that experience, but it's going to be short lived because in the end you die, and then after you're dead, you can't feel trauma anymore. So, but I get what you're saying. Like, that is definitely a much more, maybe in the moment, intense scenario, but it doesn't change my vote.
All right. What is your vote, Scott?
I'm going to go with Freddy.
Daniel?
Oh, Freddy Krueger, 100%.
Freddy Krueger moves on. My official vote would also go with Freddy because I do think that he is more iconic. But man, Jigsaw is, I don't know. I feel like he is the modern day version of the slasher icon. So we had to give some respect to Jigsaw, put some respect on his name. What's our next matchup?
Go for it, Dutha.
It's Ghostface from Scream versus Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Correct.
Yeah, the face off.
Yeah, the face off. Yeah, I mean, Ghostface is pretty iconic. That mask is everywhere. It has definitely kind of attached itself to Halloween. There are iconic parts of that. What's your favorite scary movie? All of those things. The quiz, the telephone calls, all of that iconic for Ghostface. Leatherface, terrifying for me for a different reason. It is a
reminder of home.
Yeah, a little bit. A ridiculously strong redneck that just has a penchant for a very specific type of fashion, and I'm not a super big fan of it.
Well, it's not just fashion, right?
It's insulting to your family tree.
He eats the humans, right? His family is cannibals. With Leatherface comes his creepy inbred family. And he's fucking unkillable. Like, he's gigantic. He's, like you said, he's super strong. I don't know, man.
He's got those inbred powers.
He's got that inbred power, that prowess of inbredity. And
it reminds me of being in high school, and like I lived in a somewhat suburban area. My high school was pretty suburban, and we'd go face like schools where the school was also the name of the county because there was just the one high school, and like them be some farm fed boys, and they would kick our ass at football every single year because they could just pick our players up like they were bales of hay and throw them. Leatherface, I'm not saying that they were all inbred. I'm just saying Leatherface is.
Yeah, and the
Floyd County, you know what I'm talking about. Franklin County, you know what I'm talking about.
Dan feels very called out right now.
Pulaski County, you know what I'm talking about.
He hasn't mentioned the county that I grew up in, but
I'm right around it. Was it with?
Yeah, it's all around. To me, this is difficult because I could be wrong about this, but Leatherface, the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out when?
The 70s?
70s? Yeah, 1974. So I think that there were, in horror, a lack of chainsaws before Leatherface. And then it became like every haunted house that you go to has that chainsaw. And I think that came from that movie and how terrifying it was.
That was a weird start to your point, but I'll be damned if you didn't make it make sense in the end.
It definitely made sense. Like,
there was a lack of chainsaws.
What? In horror, just generally.
Now they're everywhere. Okay, now I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. But I mean, think about it. Like your entire lives, you've grown up going to, pumpkin patches and
you don't know
all those scary things. And there's a person with a chainsaw inevitably at almost every one. And I think a large part of that is because of Leatherface. Now, do you actually equate that to Leatherface directly, or is that just an impact that he's had? I don't know.
Well, and I think that it's hard to separate the two. Look, I have gone to many haunted corn mazes and many haunted houses where there was somebody with a chainsaw, and truly, what went through my mind every time I saw them was
I need brown pants.
if there was someone who snuck into this horror event to actually murder people, that's the job they would be doing, because that would be it's the creepiest thing to begin with. But you also have those people that are like, I know it's not real. I know it's not real.
I see that, though. I feel like what you do, though, that point circles back around to Ghostface. Because now what you're doing is you're taking this character in Leatherface that, let's be honest, is slightly detached from reality. You don't actually get inbred powers. You lose eyeballs and you miss fingers and whatever. You don't get super strength because your parents are also brothers and sisters and cousins at the same time. That's not how that works. But what you just talked about, though, was circling it back into reality. If somebody truly wanted to go on a rampage, they would position themselves in a place where they could easily do it. And that's what the characters who have been Ghostface do. They are more grounded in a reality where that can actually happen. And for me, horror movies like that are more impactful. Again, we go back through the list and I talk about all the things I've never seen. I saw a couple Saw movies. I don't think I've ever watched a full Freddy Krueger movie. I've seen all of the Scream movies because they resonate more with me and I enjoy them more because they are grounded in a reality. Do the plots always make sense? Do the characters' motivations always make sense? No, not necessarily, but they are still grounded in a reality where something like that could possibly happen. And for me, that's more impactful. I also just enjoy the Ghostface and the Scream movies in general because of the way that they kind of rewrote the rules of the horror movie genre. They acknowledged them, and then they went meta and made a whole movie, maybe 2, maybe 3 at this point, about the rules of horror and how they wrote them and then how they twisted them. And I really enjoy that meta level aspect of it. Again, talking about how they took the rules of horror movies and they screwed with them. The very first thing they did is they show you Drew Barrymore, a huge movie star at the time, who was promoted as being one of the stars of the film, and then, spoiler alert, they kill her in the first 15 minutes. And that blew everyone's minds. And then still to this day, like the last Scream movie that came out, you get the posters in the movie theater with all the characters in the movie pictured in it, and it tells you right on the poster, the killer is on this poster. Like, you're somewhere on there, you're looking at it, but you don't typically figure out who it is until later on. And I think, again, there's that level of unknown that it could be any one of the people that you're in the room with at the moment, and they are masquerading. They're putting on a mask, and I think that's more impactful for me. Plus, yeah, you see chainsaws everywhere, but that Ghostface mask is #1 seller on every Spirit Halloween, Amazon, Walmart, whatever, year after year for a reason. It is still by far the most recognizable. We talked about Mike Myers. We know Jason Voorhees. Those are both really iconic and recognizable faces. But man, Ghostface is right up there, and he doesn't have quite as many years to work with to have gotten him to that point.
Yeah, I think this for me boils down to, I think Leatherface is scarier, and I don't think it's even that close. You were talking about you watching the Scream movies. How many times watching that Scream movie did you actually feel scared?
I mean, yeah, it's a good point, but again, I think there's different types of scared, right? Leatherface brings the jump scares, right? You're walking through whatever, a garage that's been turned into a meat packing facility, and there's plastic wrap hanging from the ceiling, and then he jumps through it. Like, yeah, you get a lot of that with Leatherface. But I don't know. I feel like jump scares are cheap thrills, and sometimes there's a place for them, and I enjoy them. But that long-term idea of Ghostface, I mean, imagine you have a close-knit group of friends, our boy dance party that we like to, our group that we hang out with, and all of a sudden we start dropping like flies, and it becomes evident that it's one of us, but we don't know which one it is. Like, that's terrifying, know.
I just thought of a good cold open for our next show.
I mean, it sounds like we have Scott's vote. Is that fair to say? Just to keep us kind of moving?
You know, in the interest of time, I think I can go ahead and say, again, no, I don't want to take anything away from Leatherface. It's certainly he's certainly iconic to a level. I think had Leatherface been going up against maybe some of the other people on this portion of the list, he might have fared better. But I don't know. Not against Ghostface. Not for my money.
Dan, what do you think?
It is kind of really separating the horror part and the icon part, because again, Leatherface is by far more scary to me than Ghostface. Ghostface never scared me. Scream movies never scared me. Mm-hmm. There was a psychological, like, detective feeling trying to figure out who it was. It wasn't scary. But when we're talking about the icon part, Ghostface is by far more iconic. That mask is everywhere. You see it everywhere. And that, unlike the chainsaws, you can directly link back to Ghostface. I have a feeling I know where Matt's vote is, so I'm just going to throw my vote to who I think is the scariest. Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw.
All right, so Leatherface and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I remember going to the rebooted version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know when it was, 2005, 2006, somewhere around there.
Something like that.
With my girlfriend from high school. She had to leave the theater because she was so disturbed by the imagery and kind of going back to your point, Scott, of the not just the jump scares, but the build to what is this and what is everything, like legs hanging from the ceiling, a lamp made out of somebody's face, like all of the different parts. Plus there's throughout that movie, at least the reboot, multiple times where he's literally putting on other people's faces as he is like going through the movie, which is absolutely terrifying. I agree with you, Dan. I think that it is by far more horrifying for Leatherface. I also agree. I think that Ghostface is more of an iconic figure and an iconic symbol. Ghostface as a mask is the best-selling mask of all time, I have to guarantee. However, I think if we go back and we talk about some of like the legacy being ruined, I mean, maybe not ruined, but parodied and turned on its head, like Ghostface was the main part of scary movies and things like that, like the actual scary movie franchise, to make it a joke and to make it funny, right?
Did that help with the popularity of the mask?
I mean, it had to have, at least a little
sure
bit.
It didn't
like
hurt.
Some of the variations for sure, at least. But I got to make a decision. I've got to make a choice. In terms of icons, horror movie icons, I can't take it away from Ghostface. I think it is the little bit more iconic. As much as I want to push Leatherface forward, I do think, just in terms of the stipulations that we've given to this bracket, I'm going to say Ghostface.
I see where you're coming from, though, Dan. I mean, Leatherface, I definitely think is more horror, but Ghostface icon level is just a little bit greater.
Yeah, too much.
Well, and I
totally get it.
And realistically, I don't think we could have made a wrong choice in that one. I think either of them could have moved forward and been, a strong contender either way. But then that gets us into our last matchup: Jason Voorhees versus Hannibal Lecter.
I think for me, again, this really isn't a close match because Hannibal Lecter is more of a psychological thriller than it is a horror movie. Now, the actual idea of Hannibal Lecter is terrifying. Like, that dude could keep you alive while he's got the top of your chrome off, taking slices out of your brain and cooking them right beside you. That's fucking terrifying. But Jason Voorhees is unfucking stoppable. The dude cannot die. He has lived in the vacuum of space. The that's about as iconic as you can get in the horror world. So not to bury the lead and throw my vote out this early, I just don't think this is all that close, fellas.
I mean, I think for me, Hannibal Lecter and the Silence of the Lambs, I've never seen it. I've never watched it. I know almost everything about it just through osmosis, just through pop culture, because it is iconic, right? Like the muzzle mask that he's wearing, the interviews, the Clarice, all of the things that he does. It is scary. It is a bit more of a psychological thriller, I think. But man, Jason Voorhees, I fucking grew up with Friday the 13th. Like yeah. This is one of the like horror franchises that I love. Like I sincerely, when you think of horror and you think of icon, an old school goalie mask immediately should come to your mind. Even if it is Jason X and it's a goalie mask made out of metal that is frozen in space. But like one of my early childhood memories is watching a Friday the 13th where Jason's dead, right? And a iron pole from a cemetery gets shoved into his chest, lightning hits it, and now Jason returns. Hence Friday the 13th part, 7, Jason Returns. To me, I would agree with that. I think that it's Jason, man. Jason Voorhees he's a strong contender in my mind for this whole bracket.
Look, guys, we've been going for a while already. Let's call this episode what it is. It's over. Jason wins this round. And with that, we have concluded the first round of Horror Icon Championship.
That we have.
Look at us go. So next week, we will head back north again, where we will cover the Universal Icons, as well as the, Supernatural? Paranormal. Next week, right? We'll go through both of those.
Yep, get the second round done for either of those categories.
Sweet. And then I don't know why I lost it here. That's it. That's what's next week. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Clearly, I've stopped listening to myself talk. I don't even know where we are right now. Follow us on the socials, Bracketology, BRACKETALLOGY. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Is that all of them?
Twitch. Get Twitch in the comments. Come watch us get scared of ghost hunting or Fortnite or Helldivers, whatever it is.
Yeah, we play all those things. Maybe we should open up the Discord and have some bracketeers join us.
Maybe.
But yeah, who we got to thank?
We also need to thank for our seasonal themed song, Carl Casey at White Bat Audio for the song Sanity Unravels as our opening and closing music for this bracket.
Also, Dan, you and I got to thank Matt for the kick-ass...
Yes.
The
100%.
kick-ass animation that you see. If you watch this on YouTube, even if you didn't watch it on YouTube, go back and just watch the animation that Matt created for this bracket, because it's killer. It's so good. I know we're a couple episodes into it now, but so good. Anyway, I think that's it. Is that an episode, guys? I think that's an episode of a podcast.
I think
that is an episode of a podcast.
All right. As we said at the start, I've been the creepiest co-host, Scott.
He has been the creepiest co-host, and I'm Matt.
And he has definitely been the creepiest co-host. I'm Dan.
Bye-bye.